Hey guys, this is Vias, and I know many people have been asking for a guide, so here I am. It's been delayed for a little bit since I've been very sick, but I'm recovering and now I will be going over this guide. In this guide, we're just gonna go over, the skills, add-ons, the combos, movement, general grind tips, and yeah. Let's get started, guys. I'm in the battle arena on my LAN. This is my current gear, 290 AP, 362 DP. I mostly play Succ Lahn, since Awakening is not that great right now. But anyways, we're gonna start by going over the skills. So with the new Magnus update, you don't need 2000 skill points anymore to get everything. You just need about like 1000 and you can unlock all the skills. First, these skills up here, they're kind of irrelevant. They're just the basic attacks. You don't really use them ever, so don't even mind about those. Then we have LMB and A or D. It's one of our pre-buffs and it gives 50% attack speed, which is really nice. You always want to keep this up. You can full cast the animation, but I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you need stamina, since it does recover stamina. Then we have Blade Dance, which is just RMB. That's the full animation. It's a very good DPS skill. We have Blade of Blood. This is usually for PvP purposes. I recommend you to hotbar it and just use it for PvP as a super armor. It also stuns, well, it stiffens. Then we have RMB, A and D, which is our second buff, and it gives plus 12 AP. This skill is basically useless, don't use it, I just have it locked. Then we have Furious Chase, which is one of our movement skills, just forward RMB. You can use it off cooldown, and it's really nice to use from pack to pack. Then we have Eye of the Phoenix. Eye of the Phoenix is a skill you use by pressing space after any ability, and it does a little bit of damage. I don't really use it. It's not really relevant damage or anything. You can use it for PvP since it is a stun, but I prefer to I usually keep it locked. Then we have Selpuri Perch, Shift Q, and it does a minus 15 DP debuff on the enemy. So what you would do is just have your DP buffs on the enemy and then use Selpuri. It's also a really good movement skill, but I'll get to that later. Then we have Cymbidium, which is downward, S and F. It's a frontal guard and a super armor. It's really hard hitting, does a lot of damage, and it also gives minus DP since we put an add-on on it. These skills right here, just lock them. They're basically useless. You can use them for PvP purposes, but it's really advanced, so I just keep them locked. This one, the 3-point strapple, I just keep it open. I don't really use it, but you can lock it. It's preference really. I use it for PvP sometimes, that's why I have it open. Berated Ghost, just lock it. It's completely useless. And we have Spring Breeze, which is WF. It's one of our movement skills, but I'll get more into that later on. Then we have Crescent Barrage. It's our downwards LMB skill. That's the full animation. And this is basically our healing skill. One of our only healing skills. I'll get more into it later. Soul Ascent, just have it locked. Blooming Nether Flower. This is one of the hardest hitting skills. LMB RMB hold. You can only press LMB RMB, but then it won't let you pass. You basically stand on the spot if there's mobs in front of you. So make sure to always hold both buttons down. I can actually show my key inputs here. So you want to hold it down. Then we have Sacred Flower Dance. This is another skill for PvP. You can mouse move it. It's not really useful in PvE in any way, so just either keep it locked or just put it on your hotbar and use it for PvP if you do for spot. Then we have the new Magnet skill, Fatal Attraction. That's how it looks like. Shift LMB. This skill can be cancelled many ways. For example, after your pre-buffs, etc. But I'll also get more into that. Of course, we have the E-buff. Then we have the side dash. And we have Bleeding Hearts, which is downwards and C. It's another DP debuff. We have the Q, which is a buff, and it is also a full ability. Mind, this doesn't deal damage to mobs, but it does aggro them. Then with evasion, always lock it, never use evasion please, in any class. We have Primrose Sprint, which is backwards and shift. It's an iframe and it gives you an evasion buff, plus 12%. Then we have Nimbus Stride, the classic Lahn, fly, into extend. The Nimbus Stride, of course, extend. Then all those skills, they just add to it. You can also use them out of your WF. So you can do the right click and so on. It's just the normal flow skills out of fly. Then we have a pendulum kick. It's just your F. Right now I have the BSR. So this is just your F. And then you have to flow. I keep this locked. You don't need to skill it at all. And then all the passives, of course. Then important. If you don't have Death Blow, light artifact set right here. Then you do want to use this C buff instead of your BSR, because it gives you the crit. But since I'm using a Death Blow, it's no problem for me. Right. These are my add-ons that I'm using. You can adjust these add-ons however you want. This is just what I found comfortable. I found this from one of the Lahn members on the Discord, and I've been really liking it. If you don't have Death Blow set, you can add more crit add-ons, and you should also use Silpuri and add the crit add-on on there. And yeah, you can copy these, you can play around yourself. The most important one is just the minus DP and that you have some back attack damage. Since when you use the skill, you're basically going behind the enemy automatically. Okay, so basic combos, the bread and butter of Lahn is always keep your pre-buffs up. That's A and LMB, and then D, R and B, or however you want to do it. You can do it in one direction as well. So that gives you the attack speed and the AP buff. What I always do as well, I always look that this icon is available, my Q buff, since it also gives you attack speed plus 3. It's not that much, but it's something, and you can sprint, which is not really useful because you're not sprinting while grinding anyway. But I try to keep this on cooldown. What you then do is you do one hit of your F, only one hit, you don't do the full animation, into SNF, and you full cast it. So let me do it again. F, SF, full cast, and then after that you want to hold LMB, RMB, and then you hold RMB. That is the general combo of Succession Lahn. What most people use, what's comfortable to grind. What I do my pre-buffs, but after the pre-buff, after the A and R and B, you do the new skill. So you hold Shift L and B after pre-buffing, right? After the A and R and B, you want to hold Shift L and B for the new skill. The new skill does a lot of damage, and it's really nice to position yourself behind the enemy. So let me show that again. Q, pre-buff, F, SF. And then you hold, and then you R and B. Now, you can see we only have one DP debuff up right now. You never want to have that. We have two abilities. We have our Shift Q, which is a purge, that puts up another DP debuff, -15, and then we have one of our Rabams, Sacred Dance of Souls, which is also a DP debuff. This one is actually 20 DP, so it's more than Silpuri. We also have Bleeding Hearts, which is also -20 DP. And you wanna always have one of those skills up. So basically, pre-buffs, you can do Listen after the pre-buff, then use a purge, and you go on with your combo. Just like so. Now for your next combo, do the same, but then you can add the Sacred Dance of Souls, which you can cancel by side dashing as well. And then you go on as usual. Boom. Silpuri. Don't forget your pre-buffs. Sacred Dance of Souls, cancel. Silpuri. And that is how you combo on Lahn. That is basically an infinite combo. Your cooldowns are very short, so you should always have one of those abilities up. To sum it up again, pre-buff, Shift LMB, Silpuri, F, SF, hold LMB, RMB, and then you just hold RMB. Sacred Death of Souls, dash, S, FS, hold LMB, RMB, hold RMB. And then what you can do as well, with the new skill, you can forward dash, and then cancel it again. That's just how I like to use it. There's many other ways, like from the kick, from your F, you can cancel it. You just have to see what you feel comfortable with. Alright, so the basic Lahn movement is just hold W and you press RB. That is the simplest movement probably in the entire game. But watch out, your stamina goes down pretty quickly. That is how you can move from pack to pack. A lot of people use it. Now what you can do out of this, your Silpuri actually changes how it works after movement skills. So if you hold W and then RB and then you Silpuri, you actually do a dash, which obviously it applies to DP down and it gives you a nice movement burst. If you have to cross like bigger distances, what I do is I hold W, RB, WF, and I hold down. Then you can just shift to fly, and then it's just classic Lahn movement. You just fly, shift space, WF. You can do the same with your Primrose, which is S and shift, WF. WRB, Silpuri Purge. What I also use the movement is the Eyes of Blood, Shift X. You can also use the other one, it doesn't really matter. So you Shift X, WRB, WF, hold it down, SF, WF, Shift, and then FW, and then Shift Space. You just have to play around with it. If you're new to Lahn, you'll get comfortable with it, trust me. Just take some time, because it's probably a new concept to you if you're new. Alright guys, so for general grinding tips, a lot of people just ask me how I grind so good and how I pull so much trash, even with lower AP numbers, since a lot of people that have 300 AP pull even lower than me. It's not really secret, I'm not doing something special, I never try hard while I grind, I'm always trying to chill. So what I just found out, what a lot of people don't do is they stop moving. What I mean is, they stand still to kill a pack. Let me just lower the sound actually. They stand still to kill a pack and they always look for strugglers, right? Strugglers are mobs that are left behind that haven't been killed in one full rotation, and that is what I don't do. I am basically always on the move. Always moving. You can see in my orc camp video, I basically never stand still to try and kill mobs. Or like, I don't wait for them to group up that much, right? I always try to kill, I do LMB, RMB. If they die, I instantly move on. You never want to stand still. Always keep it moving. That is how Succ Lahn works. At least at spots where it's like Kratuga or orcs, mobs die fast. If it's a spot like Starlight, Jade Forest, then of course you can stand still some more, because the mobs don't usually die in one skill rotation. But in general, try to always keep it moving. Don't cancel your skills early, for example, or don't hold down the SLMB. I've seen people do that, it's really useless, the skill doesn't really do much damage. A lot of people hold down F. Don't do that. There is situations where you can, for example at orcs, if you have a weapon, then you can hold it down, or if you're at a spot like sulfur mines where you can one-hit the mobs, you can hold it down as well, but in general, don't hold it down ever, just cancel it. What you also want to know is when to fullcast your S and F. Usually it looks like this, and when you collide with something, you stop in front of the mob and your full damage goes through. But sometimes you have a situation where the mobs die, and then you basically end up just dashing somewhere you don't want to be, and you waste your damage. It happens to me as well sometimes, so don't worry about it. Just try to like have a look out for it. Third, you don't always have to fullcast your RMB. Sometimes your S and F, or like, well, your F, S and F, this right here, this sequence, it's back on cooldown before your RMB goes through. See, right now it's back on cooldown, so like using that, because it deals more damage, that's all. Right, then again, always keep up Sopuri, Bleeding Hearts, or Sacred Dance of Souls for a DP debuff. It's really important. I see a lot of people not doing that. It really helps to deal a lot more damage. And another tip, which is one of my favorite abilities on Lahn actually, is the Crescent Barrage. It heals you, and it does actually some decent damage. So I try to put it in when I need some healing, because I tend to grind at spots where my DP is certainly not enough. For example, let's look at Jade Forest right here. Jade Forest, it recommends 350 DP, which is the biggest lie I've seen. With 350, you're gonna end up taking a lot of damage. Even now, with 362, I take a lot of damage and end up almost dying a lot. So what I like to do is I just hold S and B for a lot of healing. So if you're scared, you can also obviously, you can put HP add-ons on it so that you get extra healing per hit. That's what I used to do when I had some lower DP. Another good tip is you can cancel a lot of skills while dashing to the side. For example, right here, you can just cancel it. Your Bleeding Hearts, cancel it, cancel this. You can basically cancel any skill you want by dashing to the side. Now, since a lot of people have been asking for my settings, I'll just go over them real quick. Right now I'm playing very high. I usually play on low, very high. And if I go remastered, then I turn down my resolution to 1920 to 180. Then for optimizations, I have this off, low power on. I like to keep attack decision off. It's just annoying to me. The miss effect I keep on. Performance optimization, I keep that on. Hide other adventurers, I turn that on in case I'm doing like a world boss, etc. For camera, I keep the effect completely off, I don't like it. The vision to 100. Workers and pets, just keep everything off. For display quality, I keep anti-aliasing off, just as everything else. Remove far away effects, I keep that on. And again, the low power, obviously, keep that on as well. For effects, I just play around with the filters. Sometimes I use different ones. I like to use the old style. Vibrance, those are my favorites. For effect opacity, I mostly keep it at 100. But if I'm at spots like Jade Starlight, I usually turn it down to 50 or 30. Color Vision 8, nothing. And for audio, I mean, this is really just preference. I usually keep it very low, 3. I keep the music off, and yeah. For general aim assist, why not? Why wouldn't I use it? Combat assist, I turn it off. Separate each quick slot, turn it on. Simplify UI, off. Screensaver, turn it off for me. And this is also just preference, things you want to have shown or not. Alerts, same thing, just preference. All of these general settings are basically just preference. I do use a different font from a Black Desert, but Do It Asal has a video on it, which I just watched, and I use the font that he uses in his video. You can just look at his guide on how to get it. I think it looks really nice. For my UI, that's just what I have. This is also just preference. I just like having it simple. Turn that off again for now. You really gotta play around and see what looks good for you. I used to have many different UIs, but for now, this is what I settled with. And yeah, that's all to my settings. I'm running a 3060 Ti and a Ryzen 5 3600, so it's nothing crazy really. Well, yeah, that about sums up my guide, and make sure to comment if you have any further questions. You can obviously add me on Discord, it's all in the description below. And make sure to take a look at my Twitch. I do stream sometimes. If you have more questions, you can ask me live, or you can watch me grind and maybe figure out some more things for yourself on how to grind with Succ Lahn. I hope you have a great day, and I really hope this guide helped. And yeah, any more questions, again, just in comments. And yeah, that is my guide. Goodbye, guys.